My name is Caleb Webster Alt. This is for FTT-201, Week 7 Practical Application Assignment. For Part 1, I'm going to be unpacking the dip kit. I'm also going to be utilizing some pretty crude editing techniques, so I'm just going to cut off the clip randomly, and then we'll begin with another clip with the next part. So to begin, let's unbox this dip kit and show you the components within it. So when you open it up, I got, here, let me get this so you can see. Here's the instructions. Here is the accessory bag with everything inside that you're going to need. Scuff pad, paint brushes, gloves, cleaning pads, and a tack cloth. Paintbrush. Put all this aside. And then we have the actual film. This is the camo film. And then we have a tan finishing solution. There is a Hydrovator finishing solution. And there is a dead flat clear finishing solution. So that is what we have for our dip kit. And what we will be dipping is a paintball pod. I don't have a firearm or any other, like I don't have a knife or anything that I wish to hydro dip, so I'm just going to use a bright red paintball pod to test how well it covers. So that is everything that is in the box. Now we'll go on to part 2. Now for part 2, we will be degreasing and scuffing the item to be dipped, and in the instructions there is a clean and prep parts section, so I'm going to read that for the camera. For good adhesion, surface must be free of dirt, grease, wax, rust, or moisture. The following steps are important and will promote solid paint adhesion to your parts. This will add the durability and life expectancy of the protectant hydro dip coating. It says number 1, using the provided prep wipe, which this is the prep wipe. Clean the parts thoroughly of all the wax, grease, and contaminants must be removed. It is important to clean the surface before scuffing to prevent scratching contaminants into the substrate. Step 2, we're going to use the provided scuff pad to dull the surface. This causes micro scratches in the surface, which will help the paint to mechanically bond with the base substrate for years to come. And then for step 3, we are going to re-clean the scuffed parts with the prep wipe and then use this tack cloth to remove any dust and debris. Step 4 says to be sure to mask any areas where paint and overspray is not desired. So, like stated, this is a paintball pod. I've already, as you can see, taped it off at the top. This is just going to give me somewhere to hold it when I dip. So, to begin, we are going to apply some rubber gloves because you want to keep the grease from your hands off of it as well. So put some gloves on, and we'll take our easy prep wipe, we'll open it on up. Pretty pink color. It stinks, which means it should work good. And then we're just gonna very thoroughly wipe it down all the way around. Yeah, it smells like it's just a giant alcohol pad, guys. So then we're going to set that aside, and according to the instructions, for step 2, we are going to use the provided scuff pad, and now we are going to scuff the surface of this pod. So you want to make sure that you get right up to the edge where you've taped. So your taped areas, get right up the edge of that, because you want the paint to adhere right where your taping stops. So I'm going to make sure to get that real good first, and then we'll proceed with the rest of the pod. But I just want to establish a good scuff mark up top where it's going to be a clear color separation from the hydro dip and the actual color of the plastic. So then you can scuff the whole rest of your part. And the camera probably can't see it, but it is turning to a more dull color. You know, it had a sheen to it, but you can tell when it's working when that sheen starts to go away. You just want to sand it enough so that that paint has somewhere to micro bond all these scratches on here. Okay, that should be good enough. So for 3, we're going to re-clean the scuffed parts with the cleaning pad. Oh. And then, leave that to dry for a second. For step 4, or for step 3 still, I am going to take this tack cloth and wipe all the dust off of this now, if there are any. Which there most likely is, from sanding it. So you're just going to take that tack cloth and just wipe it down thoroughly. Make sure you get all that dust and crap off here. This will make the surface nice and smooth, getting it ready for the finish to go on. We'll just put that to the side. Put our knife away. And now for step 4. It says to be sure to mask any areas where paint and overspray is not desired. Now is a great time to determine how you will manage the part while it is being painted. Hooks, masking tapes, jigs, and various devices are commonly used here for holding, managing, and suspending parts during the spraying process. So as you can see, we've already done that. So that is taped, and that is going to be where we hold to dip our project. So that is the ending for this section. So what we have went over so far is part 1. We unpacked the dip kit. For part 2, we degreased and scuffed the item that is going to be dipped. And part 3, we have shown evidence of any taped areas if applicable. So we will be moving on to part 4, where we will do a 1 coat of dipstick base coat paint. So we'll see you there. For part 4, we're going over the base color paint, and in my kit, the base color paint is tan. So for step 1, we're going to start by mixing the can vigorously for around 60 seconds. So let's start by just shaking it. It says for step 2 to cover nearby areas to protect from spray mist. We're outside in a ventilated area, so 3, spray can upright at a 10 to 11 inch away from the surface using a sweeping motion side to side with slight overlap. So we're going to do 2 coats. Each coat is going to be, we're going to give it 20 minutes to dry, and then we'll come back in another 20 minutes to do the second coat. So the first coat is just going to be a real light coat for a full coverage, and this is just going to create like a tack coat for the next coat to adhere to. I think it's shaken up enough, so put the instructions off to the side and put the first coat on. Oh, a little heavy. So it's not perfect. We got some splotching and splattering, but that's just from the can. It's probably not the greatest quality, but it's okay. So it's just the first coat. We're gonna come back, we're gonna give it 20 minutes to dry, and then after the 20 minutes, we're gonna put the second coat, and that should be a full coat, full coverage, and it should all look like a nice light tan. Okay, so to continue with part 4, it's been about 20 minutes, probably a little more. Now we're gonna give it a entire thorough coverage. It is a bit windy, so I do got to get a little closer than 10 or 11 inches, or else it just sprays away with the wind. As you can see, it's starting to become a tan now instead of red. It's starting to cover up that red too. The camera probably can't tell, but I'm starting to be able to see the red start to disappear. So we are properly giving it a full coverage of paint while applying it evenly. And then we let that dry for another 20 minutes and we'll be back for part 5. Okay, so for part 5, we need evidence that the film has been cut to size. I'm working with a limited amount of space with the tote, so I don't really exactly know if I have enough film to cover the whole pod, but that's not the main focus. So let's just roughly cut. So we can now separate the two pieces and roll your film back up. You're going to want to stick this right back in the plastic tube so that no moisture gets to it, or else it will be deemed useless. And then all we're going to do now is I'm going to tape the edges. So I will do that, and then we'll get back with you for part 6. This is for part, we're going to do 6, 7, and 8 all in one, hopefully. This is the pre-cut sheet. I got it pre-slit so that it can expand on its own. This is the second attempt, so let's hope it goes well. So we're just gonna push the bubbles out. Try to at least. As you can see, this doesn't really fit in this tote, so once again, it probably won't be perfect, sadly. We're going to see if we can just drop this in the tank some more. It's going to create some wrinkling, but there's nothing I can do about it now. I think that's the best I'm going to be able to get it. So we're just going to give it a minute to expand, and then we will read from the instructions while we wait. So it says to lay the film. We have laid the film. It says the water temperature has to be 85 degrees to 96 degrees, which is it is around that temperature. We're going to have to start to shake the activator can for 1 minute. Place the desired cut of film of the object you're dipping, placing the shiny side of the film down on top of the water, and wait 60 seconds before applying the activator. We have done that. It says do not trap air bubbles under the film while laying film on the water. We got as many air bubbles as we could out of it. We're working with a very minimal space here. It says to hold the can 12 to 18 inches from the surface of the film at a 45-degree angle, and do not hold horizontally. So let's do that. So it's been 60 seconds or so for that for the film to fully soak up the water and expand. So now I'm going to be placing on my gloves, and I'm going to begin shaking this activator up for at least 1 minute so that the film can have a little bit more time to soak up that water. So as you can see, this is Hydrovator finishing solution. You're just going to spray this until it has a nice, even, shiny look to it. So let's shake this up for a minute. And while I do that, maybe I could try and get some more of these bubbles out. There we go. So now that we have mixed the activator for about a minute, it says to hold the can 12 to 18 inches from the surface of the film at a 45-degree angle, and do not hold horizontally and spray in even, consistent passes until the entire surface is wet and glossy. This is a critical step. Dry spots on the film will not yield positive results. So let's do that. I'm going to turn on the fan. You're going to want some ventilation. I think that's enough. We're getting a little smoky in here. So while we'll wait for the smoke to clear a little bit from the fumes, we can get up close and we can show you the sheen. So it's got this glossy look to it. And as you can see, we have some crinkling right here and right in here. We got some bubbles on the edges. So my best bet is to dip right in this area. So that's our goal, is to dip right here. So we're just gonna give this a minute so, and we'll read from here. So for dipping the parts, we're gonna wait 15 to 20 seconds after a planned activator before dipping your part. In general, parts should be dipped in a slow, controlled fashion at a 30-degree angle, to allow air to flow out from under your part. Softly touch down your part to avoid touchdown dots. Do not trap air bubbles. Always dip your part at an angle and avoid touching flat surfaces down on the film. This traps air bubbles and leaves speckles in your graphic. When removing the dipped part from the container, avoid allowing dipping debris to stick on your part. Do not touch a freshly dipped part until it has been rinsed. Immediately begin a clean water rinse with warm water to wash away all the liquefied film. The liquid film is clear and slimy like a butter coating on your part. Warm water will rinse it more quickly than cold. This must all be washed away. 5 to 7 minutes of fresh water will usually do the job. Lightly touch the part with wet fingers to feel for the slime. Allow the part to air dry or help it with a fan or air compressor. So, it is kind of fumy in here, and I don't have an air respirator mask. So, it's been definitely 15 to 20 seconds. I guess let's just do it. So, again, at a 30-degree angle or so, we're going to go in nice and slow, and hopefully this works out for us. So just slowly and patiently press it down into the water. Now it's fully under. We're just going to give it a good gentle shake. Let it drip dry a bit. And then we're going to go over to the sink here in a second. And we're going to turn on the warm water so that we can rinse the part properly.
It's not warm yet.
Here, we're going to go over to the garbage. I'm going to take my glove off so I can wash it with my bare hand. Thank you. Okay. Now we're going to come over here. We're going to move our thermometer out of the way. Throw that down. Move our rag. And it's still not quite yet warm. As you guys can see, with the bubbles and the wrinkling, it's still quite turned out okay. So I'm kind of happy with that. It looks pretty good, besides this stringing here. So now it's starting to get warm. We're just going to go in. And now the directions are right. It is slimy like a fish. So we're just going to wash this slimy coat off, and it's even soapy. It's getting bubbly. Oh, look at that. The ugly string part is coming right off for us. At least that part is. It is coming off. It is just taking time. You just got to keep rinsing it. I also don't want this water to get too hot, so I'm going to add on some cold. Keep it moderate. That's good. And we are almost there. It's feeling pretty good. Okay, now I'm gonna rinse my hand. Turn off the water. And we're just gonna take a quick peek at her. So as you can see, it looks pretty good, and I'm actually quite happy with the outcome. I thought it was going to be worse than what it is, so that is pretty awesome. So then let's read from the book a little bit some more. So dipping the parts, we waited 15 to 20 seconds after applying the activator. We then dipped it at a 30-degree angle very slowly, touching it into the water onto the film. When removing the dipped part from the container, avoid allowing dipped debris to stick on your part. So what you do to do that, you just make sure it's below the water surface, jostle it around, wait for all that debris on the top to just kind of drift away, and when you find an opening, pull that part right on out. And then we rinsed it for a few minutes to get that slimy coating off. It turned out pretty darn good in my opinion. So now we have to allow this part to air dry, either with a fan or an air compressor. We're just going to let it air dry naturally. And then after that, we can come back for the very final bit, and we will put a clear coat on this. And then after that clear coat, then we'll wait around 30 days for this to fully cure up, because you don't want your fingerprints and things into it, so the least you touch it while the paint cures, the better. So we'll see you on part 8, I guess.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the last part. This video is pretty lengthy, so I'll tell you what we're going to do. So now we're applying the final protective matte clear coat. In my case, this is called Dead Flat Clear, so I'm assuming it's a matte finish. It says to apply a light tack coat, wait 5 minutes, and then apply a medium full coat, and then wait 10 minutes, and then apply a final wet flow coat. So how I'm going to do that, I'm going to first apply the light coat. I will then proceed with the second and then third coat, and I won't videotape those just because it is getting too lengthy. So this is going to be my final product for my assignment. So as it is, I'm going to clear coat it, and then we'll do like a panorama, like we'll go around it and you can see it for what it is. So I've already shaken this can up for several minutes. I've been walking around shaking it, so it should be ready to go. So let's begin.
See Tigger. You want to get him away from you first?
Move, Sam.
Don't want him smelling it.
So just a light coat all the way around it. I'm going to do maybe a little more than a light coat because I'm a little OCD, and this actually turned out a little better than I thought. So that's our light coat. I'm going to take the camera and I'm going to show you guys close up what it looks like. It turned out pretty good. It's got that nice striping. So maybe I'll make a additional clip after I'm done with the rest of the 2 coats, and then you guys can see the actual final product. But there it is. That is my hydro dipping assignment, and it worked out pretty good. So thank you very much. I guess I'll see you guys again if I make another video clip. So we are back in the workroom, and let's just go over everything. So for part 1, we unpacked the dipping kit, and I unboxed it, and I showed you all of the contents. For part 2, we went over how to degrease and scuff the item that is being dipped. For part 3, we showed evidence of any taped areas if applicable. For 4, we showed multiple coats of the dipstick base coat paint. For 5, we showed evidence of cutting the film to size. And for 6, we showed evidence of the film being placed on top of the water. I also showed how to get air bubbles out, stuff like that. Step 7, the item being dipped. And 8, the final product. So that is where we're at right now. So this is the final product. I don't have gloves on. I am touching the taped areas, so I'm not like a freak about it. But that is it. It actually turned out looking really good. I am quite happy, even though there was wrinkles, as you guys will see in the video. There was some wrinkles and some bubbles in the film. It turned out very well because I only used the corner of the film that was actually usable. So I am quite happy. So now it has received its 3 coats of clear coat, which it's this right here, dead flat clear. It is now ready for the paint to cure. So you don't really want to touch all of this that has not been taped for 30 days. I mean, if you give it 30 days, it's going to be cured very well. You can touch it to the surface, like rub it very gently, and it feels nice and smooth. So it filled in the craters and it encapsulated that film quite nicely. So yeah, that is my week 7 practical application assignment. That is my paintball pod that was once red, is now camo. It is of course going to have a singular red strip, like a red band on the top, but that's just for, you know, to see how well it worked. It worked very well, as you can see. So I'm quite happy with it. I still have leftovers from the kit, so I can do it again on another pod or 2. Because it turned out so well, I would probably do this on a gun. Not like a firearm, maybe like a paintball marker, or, you know, something silly. Maybe an AR-15 that you don't really give too much about, you know, and you just wanted to have a camo job on it. This video is quite long. It's over 30 minutes. But thankfully I covered all the requirements, and I did it with crude editing, so I'm quite happy, and I think we're going to end it here. So once more, this is the final product. It did turn out pretty darn good, if I have to say. So I'm happy. I'm going to let this dry for a few more hours probably before I tear this tape off, but other than that, it is done. It is finished. I'm happy. I didn't have all of the proper equipment or proper space, but I made do, and it worked out. So pretty cool. We're gonna end it here, so thank you very much. Have a nice day.